Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is mixtressrae, and you're watching Mixtress Video. We're doing an unfair comparisons today. It's not super unfair because these are both decks by Alana Fairchild with art by Jimmy Manton, and they are both goddess-themed decks from the same publisher, same author, same artist. But, like, they're Oracle decks, so anytime you compare two Oracle decks, it's going to be an unfair comparison. So, first of all, I don't know if I don't think that I actually want to necessarily support this particular like publisher and artist. And so, I don't know. I feel a certain type of way about it because it's like, what we've got here is, someone, let's just get as close as we can with our current tripod setup. What we've got here is, some white people creating a deck from someone else's culture in both of these cases. So, in both of these cases, I find these decks to be very powerful. I enjoy using them quite a bit. So I like them, but I'm also a white girl using them. So they work for me, but I'm not the one that they need to work for the most, So it's all just like an excuse because a way of explaining why I've never done like a walkthrough of either of these decks. I don't think I did one for Isis Oracle. And I also think that if it's possible for you and you are interested in either of these decks, I think possibly the best thing to do would be to get them used or get them from independent sellers, like your local metaphysical bookstore. Like if you're going to support these decks financially, maybe if you can support someone else in the process, because what we've got here is a publishing company that likes to prop up white creators and white creators doing decks from both Hindu mythology and Egyptian mythology. So that said, I do find these decks very usable. And okay, so this is the part where it's going to be an unfair comparison because this deck has numbered cards and this deck does not. So I ordered this deck in alphabetical order, so we're not really going to see necessarily like, comparisons. You know what I'm saying? But this is what we're doing because I didn't just want to do a flip through of the Kali Oracle, which was, sorry, I need to fix this angle just a little bit. Yes? Maybe? Is this okay? Okay. Let's just start flipping. With all my disclaimers out of the way, like I am a white person showing you a deck from, from white people interpreting culture that is not theirs. So there's a certain amount of problematicness in both of these decks, is what I'm saying. And I'm not necessarily going to notice what all the problems are because I'm another white person. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Okay. Stop with the disclaimers. One thing that really bugs me about this Isis Oracle is, well, actually both of these. So these are the only two Alana Fairchild decks that I have, but this might be a problem with her decks in general. I don't know. Let me know if you know in the comments. But I just feel like the titles of her cards don't necessarily, you can't really read them intuitively. I feel like you need these are both decks that, first of all, I don't really use Oracle decks super effectively no matter what, but for me, these are both decks where I would just pull one card for a week or a day and then read the guidebook, and that's it. The guidebooks are pretty juicy. They have rituals in them. They have chants and mantras and things like that. So if you really like take the time to read the guidebook entries and go through the rituals, they feel like spiritual decks, spiritual conduits, kind of. And I mean, you're either gonna like or dislike this guy's Jimmy Manton's artwork style. I personally really like it. But you do get the problem, like here, we're supposed to be looking at an Egyptian goddess. This person has a very white face structure. And I feel like that problem is a little bit less of a problem in the Kali Oracle, because this deck, Isis Oracle, let's see, let me check the box. This one came out in 2013 and Kali Oracle came out in 2020. So I think Jimmy Manton has, but still, you very much get white faces as far as like face structure with most of these cards. As far as just like comparison of cardstock, the cardstock is different. It's stiffer with the Kali Oracle and it's matte with the Kali Oracle, but I think they're they are the exact same size. So obviously these are completely unfair comparisons, but just so you guys can see a flip through of these cards, that's what I'm doing here. But both of these, like I said, I feel like at least the titles are shorter in the Kali Oracle. As far as the Isis Oracle, just like the whole Eye of Horus, awakening divine perception. Like, okay, well that one's an example of one that makes sense intuitively without reading the guidebook, but not all of them have that built within them. I like the inclusion of Terra, kind of like seeing Kali through Terra. And I know that's something that like some people have had problems with. Like, it must be like a very like white American point of view to see goddesses in kind of the way that Alana Fairchild sees goddesses. I think she sees like there being like sort of a divine feminine goddess energy that all goddesses are tapping into, sort of like they're all a part of the same energy. It's just a way of seeing them differently. That concept personally works really well for me, but other people have found that idea to be problematic. So I guess just what I'm saying there is maybe how I feel about goddess energy is kind of problematic too, since it kind of comes from that same space. And it may just be like a way that like if you are brought up in American culture, that's just kind of like a way that you've been taught to see that kind of see divine energy, sort of. Not trying to make excuses for it. I'm, like as far as like spirituality is concerned, I don't ever like look to me for anything because I don't know nothing. Basically my ideas of spirituality are all just sort of like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I think this is the only child depicted in this deck, and it's the only child depicted in this deck. And they just happen to coincide. Like, I feel like, being a white woman that grew up in the Bible Belt in the Midwest, I grew up with, like, an absence of culture, an absence of spirituality. Like, even though I grew up being, I went to a Baptist church with my grandparents, like, I don't know, Christianity is the least spirituality you could ever possibly dream of, kind of, you know? And I understand that, like, seeing Kali in sort of this pretty form as she is depicted throughout most of this deck is also kind of problematic. But goddamn, it's beautiful to look at. And it gives me, as Monique Hart would say, that ooh ah ah sensation. It gives me that. I I feel sort of guilty for being so into this deck, but yeah, that's why I say, if you can, buy this deck used, buy this deck from your local metaphysical store, so that instead of like Amazon or something, if you can do that, you know, I don't want to lead anyone to buying these decks brand new from Amazon. I mean, you got to do you. Like, I can't tell you what to do, but I feel like it would be a better use of your money to not necessarily reinforce that this is the way that we get this energy. The way that I got a Kali Oracle is through white creators, and that does leave a bad taste in my mouth, essentially. I do think that Alana Fairchild and Jimmy Manton are doing this with respect. I do feel that that is the case, but they're still not the ideal person to do this. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I'm not meaning to just like badmouth the decks the whole time that I'm flipping through them, because they're both like, I only have like 20-ish Oracle decks, and I'm not really an Oracle deck person overall. So these are 2 out of 20 decks. You know, this is 20%. Nope, that's not how math works. This is 10% of my Oracle deck collection right here. I do wish that there were more like black-skinned Kali depictions in this deck, because blue is not the only way to depict Kali's skin. I would have liked to have seen more like literal black skin. But there you go. That is the Kali Oracle unfair comparisons against the Isis Oracle. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think about these Oracle decks. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about like how you feel about white creators creating these types of decks. What your opinions on all of this are, what your opinions are on me, a white person, using a deck created by white people that is depicting other cultures' spirituality and mythology. Yeah, I feel weird about it, but at the same time, I really get something out of using these decks. I do. So, I mean, I like to keep it a personal practice, and I probably would not have shown you guys these decks, walkthroughs of these decks, had this not been a request, because I feel like it's a very personal thing. You know, I don't necessarily need to be promoting use of these decks, if that makes sense. So please, if this video made you want to buy one or both of these decks, if you can, support local metaphysical shops, buy it used on eBay, so that you're supporting, you know, some creator on, or some, you know, seller on eBay is probably slightly less evil most of the time than like Amazon or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I personally feel about that. Sorry for all my, I'm just like feel weird about making this video is the problem, because why does another white person need to show decks by white creators that are probably getting a lot of things wrong, and I can't speak to what they're getting wrong, because, you know, I come from zero spirituality, and all I know is what I pick up from weird sources, and sometimes those sources aren't entirely reputable, like probably Alana Fairchild, who is probably doing her best and coming from a good place, still is not going to have the information needed to make a wonderful, perfectly aligned Kali oracle. You know what I'm saying? Or Isis. Anyway, I'm just like at this moment, I'm feeling like maybe I won't put this video up. But I hope you guys got something out of this, and let me know how you feel about things in the comments. I am totally open to hearing all criticisms, and I always want to do better. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Bye.